So let's start the discussions on AM Talk. I have in the studio Alhaji Abubakari Ibrahim Day. Abubakari, okay. Yes. Alhaji Abubakari Ibrahim Day, Member of Parliament for the Salaga South constituency. And we say thanks for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. There's a story on the front page of the Daily Graphic that talks about MP and BDCs. They're calling for a debate on fuel subsidies. And the story on page 16 of the paper basically just talks about how the two entities are calling for this very reopening of debates on to scrap subsidies on fuel. And according to the Chamber for the bulk oil distributors and the National Petroleum, there was a need for the public debate on whether or not the government should continue spending millions of cedis on subsidies, and instead of channeling the money into the provision and improvement of infrastructure. Currently, the government owes about 1.3 billion Ghana cedis to the BDCs, representing subsidies on petroleum products from July 2011 to 2013. So it's not as if that is but still, that brings to mind whether we need to be paying full cost or, well, as you, the politicians, will have it. If you want to reduce the burden of the ordinary Ghanaian, then it means that you can take off some of those, but then the economy doesn't support it. That's what we're told normally.
All right, thank you very much. And first, let me thank you for the opportunity and greetings to the people of Salaga South constituency and all your cherished listeners. This debate about removal of subsidy is not just today. I can say it has gone for more than since even during the First Republic, Second Republic, especially the Second Republic to the Third Republic, up to this Fourth Republic that we are having. And since the inauguration of this constitution, there has always been debate. You quite remember that even in the former regime of the MPP, there was this debate, the removal of toll. I mean, when the toll debt was there, whether the subsidy should go on. If you ask my opinion, I think the problem is we are a social democratic party. You may need a subsidy, but the question is, how is the subsidy collected and used? Whom does it benefit? You get the point I'm saying? Because sometimes the problem is, you pass the subsidy. Do you have the monetary effect to know that whether the subsidy benefit those is supposed to pass on? If you don't have that, then the issue is you then pass the cost. And when you pass the cost, as the writer seems to put it, when you pass the full cost to the people and you reap that money, will it still go on to benefit the same people? So it's always the egg or the chicken. As far as I'm concerned, you can pass the subsidy, there's nothing wrong, but whether you can collect, make sure the subsidy benefit those it is meant for. If you don't have the machinery to monitor to ensure that the benefit go to those people, then you can then pass the cost. But when you pass the cost, the margin that you are taking, will you still collect it to do the social intervention that you are talking about? So the argument goes neither there or there. And as far as I'm concerned, it depends upon the government machinery, the executive, whether they have effective, system that can ensure that the benefit, because when you pass a benefit, let's say fertilizer, the question is, do the farmers get the fertilizer? Or are people able to take the fertilizer to go and sell it at Burkina Faso? That's the issue. If the farmers get the fertilizer, then they benefit the subsidy. If the farmer doesn't get the fertilizer, and the middlemen are able to collect the fertilizer and make sale on it, then it doesn't benefit the people.
From what your own experiences as a member of parliament,
yes,
do you think that when you, the politicians, you go out and make all the promises about creating the environment for businesses to thrive, creating the environment for more schools to be built, improving on basic infrastructure, etc. How do you get to meet some of those demands when you know that, well, as far as revenue is concerned, there's little as you can take and there's as much as you can spend?
Well, I think that's really what you call the, excuse me to say, is how you collect your revenue and the utilization of the revenue. And when you look at the system as we have now, our revenue is not able to meet our expenditure. So you have two options. Either you cut your coat according to your size, in other words, you live within your revenue, or you look for the gap, how you finance the gap. And financing the gap is either the budget is either you look for grant or loans or you borrow somewhere. And when you borrow, what you use it for is another factor. We look at it. You're asking for my opinion as a politician. So that's what happened. Because if you build expenditure, maybe you need a 20 billion to do all the necessary expenditures, and your revenue you can generate is around 18 billion. You have a gap of 2 billion. You get a point. How do you finance those gaps? How are you going to look for it? The only remedy is either to borrow it or look for the donor partner or so-called a grant to fill that gap of 2 billion. You need it. You see, if you borrow and you use it efficiently, that can generate more revenue so that it can be self-sufficient. That's another factor. The problem is when you borrow, do you use it for the purpose it's meant for, so that it can generate enough revenue so that one day you can win away from the donor partners? Those are the issues. Because I ask a general question, that's why I'm giving you a general answer. When you go on, yes.
Beyond the subject of whether we need to pay subsidies or not, do you think that currently the difficulties in which we're experiencing, if we should remove subsidies from, let's say, petroleum products and its pricing, and that is also passed on to the consumer and this full recovery, how do you imagine the atmosphere will be like?
I think we have done this before. As far as I'm concerned, I quite remember when the NPP government came and the debt, the toll debt was so high, there was a question of recovering the toll debt, and there was a need to have a recover and the thing was issue. When the NPP government was trying, the NDC came, there was a question asking that where is the money that they collected for the toll debt? And then there was this issue of subsidies were either there or not there, and I thought we will remove it. The reintroduction of subsidy I'm coming is something gone. But to come back to your question as you are asking, as far as I'm concerned, I always say it the if you remove it right now as you are going, the government is thinking that they can no more afford it. I mean the executives, whatever is going on, fine. Are you going to have social intervention for the poor others? Because certain interventions must be in. One, mass transport system. In other words, you should have a transport system that can have the people to convey them and go on. Is that efficient in the country so far? In other words, the metro mass and also going on. Is it efficient enough that when you get up and you stand in Medina, you want to come to Accra to work, within the next 30 minutes, can you be here? Or is it going to take 2 hours? The road system, everything, infrastructure. So that's why I'm asking and saying that if those interventions are not there and you want to remove it, you're going to have some problems too. But at the same time too, you say you cannot pay the whole cost, the full cost. The government cannot afford the money, it has to pass it on. So that's the priority of the government, wherever he thinks you go. But as far as I'm concerned, that these are the issues that the government need to address.
Now, what you said, and we all know, it's not the first time we're discussing this, and you have said it.
Yes.
Now, in trying to prioritize what should be the most important, what do you think the decision should be?
Well, as far as I'm concerned right now, looking at the government machinery, maybe we have to take up the subsidy, but we should be able to collect that money to build. I remember during the president address that he addressed the parliament, he talked of introduction of an infrastructure development fund. If that money collected could go to the infrastructure development fund and use it properly for the infrastructure, here I'm talking of the road network, I'm talking of the mass intervention of the mass metro system, I'm talking of the energy system, all including infrastructure I'm talking, then it will go a long way to benefit the people, and that is investing the money that you are taking into the capital expenditure instead of consumption. And in the next 3 to 5 years, there will be our infrastructure gap will have been built at least, if not the 100%, at least 80%, and that could have helped us to do things. So as far as I'm concerned, as I stand now, yes, the government can take that measure of removing all the subsidy and show the full cost, but that money collected should be put in a proper investment and not for consumption. In other words, capital expenditure like in infrastructure, so that in the next 5 years or in the next medium term, the country will be better off.
How do we take the debate to the next level, where we need to make everybody understand that there are some in our society that can afford, supposing we have full cost recovery, and there are a lot more people in our society who can't afford, because when prices of fuel are increased or petroleum products are increased, it has a ripple effect on almost everything. Just like perhaps
you see, the reason why we are feeling here is because our social intervention system is not working properly or efficiently, or for that matter.
So why don't we make it work?
Fine, that is another issue you have brought it. So, but that is another dimension you are looking at. Those in charge should make it work. Because when you go to other countries, like maybe because the advance you are talking, the price market mechanism work, but the social intervention, like you go to the UK, the housing system, the transport system, and all those are there. You stand there, the health system, just within a short time, you can have those.
And those are the three main,
very good,
three main essentials of,
thank you.
Of a
so
human
when those
life.
systems are carried here, for example, the transport system and the health system, and the one you mentioned, the housing system, once that money, if you want a full cost, fine, but have mechanisms so that that money collected can be used to provide this social, and the people can see, can realize, and can also expect that, look, this is where the government started and going on. There will no time to complain.
But we don't understand that you've raised.
Yeah, but once the people cannot see those meaningful
but realistically, do
complain.
you think that, I mean, even going forward, whether it's the next year or 2 or 3 or 5 years, we will be in a position to do all the things? Supposing we even say
why not? Why not? I mean, it's up to the government machinery to ensure they put efficient system to collect and use it for the disbursement for the purpose of the people. Why not? And it's incumbent all of us. Like what is happening right now, you put the government on the stool. You ensure that there's transparency and accountability of what is going on.
Well, we do understand, but how do you put the government on its toes when
like what you're doing? The press is talking. Everybody wants to find out that the money. What did you do with it?
There are people who hit, who picket or protest on the streets, and the government doesn't take it.
I don't think the government doesn't take kind to that. I didn't see anything the government take kind to that. I'm sure the government listened to them and collected it. I mean, if the government used the forces to drive them away, it doesn't take kind to that. I mean, I'm sure the government listened. You want immediate solutions. You can't have immediate solution. It's always a process. It takes time. But if you say the government, I mean, I'm happy to see it. And
okay. Now, currently, we've had perhaps some of the debts that are owed to the BDCs being reduced as a result of the intervention by the president, etc. But it's still piling up following thereof. So
that is why I am saying that if the country, currently the government has to pay some debt. Even if the government have a full cost, the benefit of that money should go on to settle the debts that it is owing. And that is what we should accept, because we need to settle those debts. Maybe in the current future, the rest of the full cost, I'm saying that the money, the margin getting down, should be accountable for transparency and use it for the purpose of the people. The people, look, when the people are sure that what you are using, you know, human beings are rational in their thinking. I know they collected 2 CDs for me. I know what you have done, the 2 CDs, and I can see what is going on. I will understand you. But when I don't know what is happening, and I can bring rumors and everything, that's where the problem comes in.
Do you think your government has been transparent enough and say this is how it is?
Well, I think so far, some can say yes, because the transparency is what is bringing all this here. And people are seeing what is happening. Maybe in the past, nobody knows what is happening. So what do you think the decision of the government should be on this very subject of subsidy? Well, I think as at now that they are facing problems, they have no choice than to remove the subsidy. But they should make sure the money is accountable to the people. They should make sure there's transparency and the people should know what is happening. Well, that's what I think the government should do. Because once the people know exactly what is happening. Well,
we do understand. For example, if you are made a Minister of Energy, the way you're talking will change. That's the whole point.
Well, of course, I mean, individual.
Do you get what I'm saying?
But I think that, yes, you must make sure that the people know exactly what you are doing. You have nothing to hide. If you know you are doing the right thing, if you know that you're not, you see, where you're not transparent. The ordinary
politician is always not transparent, are you?
No, I don't think so. Please, because there are a lot of politicians that are transparent. Excuse me for God, man. In any case, accountability is the duty of every citizen to ensure that it is being carried out. Because you cannot make sure everybody wants to obey the law or everybody wants to do the right thing. But it's incumbent on all of us to ensure that the right thing is done. You, the press, are doing your work. The NGOs are doing their work, the civil society organizations are doing their work, the think tank, Parliament should ensure that their oversight view is being carried to the letter. I mean, when I talk about Parliament as an institution, and not Parliament as a political party, the Parliament as an institution, ensure that their oversight responsibility is carried to the letter. You make sure that both the two institutions, that's Parliament and the executives, are doing their work that is better of them as a pressman, because you are the fourth arm of the government, I'm sure, the press.
Of the state.
Yeah, the state. Okay, the state. Okay, whatever. We are working for the state anyway. Right. You see that? So, what those things are done, I can't understand why It's not the citizens would not have patience to make sure that. But when you talk of, excuse me to say, like you're saying that you're talking of maybe sacrifice, and people don't see it on your part. That is why the people then get annoyed to know that, I can't tell me to sacrifice when I'm not seeing the sign of sacrifice in you.
Okay, now, if we'll have to wrap up our discussion on this very subject, how do we make sure that perhaps the experiences of shortages are not repeated again?
I am really...
because, for example, the BDC said if officials or the Finance Ministry, Energy Ministry, etc., were proactive enough, then, well, they needed letters of credit, etc.
I like the question you put. Like right now, the shortage is artificial shortage. Because in reality, the fuel is there.
No.
The fuel is there. It's just because the money to pay for it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so it's not artificial necessarily.
It's artificial because, like you are saying...
It's not in the pumps. It's in the depots, but it's not in the pumps.
Yes, the fuel is there. And like they made the point, they said that if you pay within even 1 week, and maybe as you use the word proactive, now so much like acted earlier to
What's
prevent
your
this
own assessment currently of the way they've acted? Well, those who have been put in a position to...
I am not in the position to talk for them, but I think that something has gone wrong somewhere and needs to be corrected. But if it is somebody's...
You don't want to hit the nail head on because you're a member of the NDC and it is your government that is in power.
I didn't finish. I said, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not there to see what is happening. But however, if it is inaction of somebody, or somebody not at the program, I think that person should be put...
Well, that's visible, don't you think? You're a member of parliament. Don't you think that is visible?
No, I have not...
Somebody acted inappropriately.
I've not gone through the process. I've not been told that. It could be a genuine mistake.
But you don't think somebody was not proactive?
Investigation could be carried out. It could be a genuine mistake. It could be that somebody really didn't act the way she should have acted. And actually, should be taken on that person to serve as a deterrent. That's what I think. But as far as I'm concerned, I cannot in the position to judge, because I don't have all the facts with me. You're asking for my opinion. And I'm saying that, but if
you're being diplomatic about it.
I'm not being diplomatic.
It could be you who is there, so the next time you don't want to say anything.
Oh my God, no, if I am there, because, excuse me, that cannot continue ruling a country. Because when people make a mistake, especially gross mistake, and not punished for it, we cannot rule a country like that. We cannot go forward with it. If I am there and I do it, because we have more than 20 million Ghanaians, if you cannot perform, somebody going to do what is going. So it's not a question about Arab saying there could be a genuine mistake. But in the investigation by the whoever is responsible to find out that somebody really acted improperly, then that person must be disciplined in such a way that serves as a deterrent. That's what I can say.
I get your point. Now,